Hello everyone, welcome to PC Tech Help. This is Cyber Sorcerer. What we're going to be doing today is taking care of some email question. It's been my last video. I said it's okay for people to post comments in the videos on what they want a tutorial on, or send me an email, or post it on the forum boards I visit. And seems to be the biggest thing coming back is functions with parameters that are passed by reference. A lot of people are, trying to customize and do work with WordPress or Joomla or some other open source project, and they're seeing that a lot of functions are passed by reference, and they lose track of the variables and what's supposed to be what. They don't really know what the reference is doing to the variable. So we're going to cover that today. Let's get started here. Let's zero in on open up our PHP brackets, and we're going to put a string 1, and I'm just going to have that as Cyber Sorcerer, and we'll have a string 2, or Cyber, and we'll put the string 2 as Sorcerer. Getting ahead of myself. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to concatenate these two so it spits out a string of Cyber Sorcerer. Now in simple PHP I could just echo string 1 with the concatenate operator there, the period, and put string 2 and end it, and we can go over and load our page, and we can see that works, Cyber Sorcerer. But like I said, we're going to learn more about functions and the parameters that are passed by reference on there. So we're going to make a function that'll do basically the same thing. So let's put our function, and we're just going to name it string cat for cat. And we'll call this first, and we'll call that second. Put in our braces. And all we're going to do here is basically the same thing we just did with the echo, except we're going to use return. And we'll put first and second. Now we can come down here and use another echo statement, call our function, cat, with string 1 as the first parameter and string 2 as the second parameter. Now we can go back over here, refresh our page, and basically same thing. We just went a long way around in doing something, and we made a function to do something that just took one line of code in normal PHP. But this is the benefit of having classes and a function.php file, so you can put a lot of reusable functions and stuff. That way you make code once and you don't got to reuse it. But we'll get into that later on down the road when we get into classes and stuff like that. But you can see right here that this is done by a copy. All it's doing is copying Cyber and passing it into first, and copies Sorcerer and passes it into second as a string, and just spits it out. Now if we're going to change these, we can't change string 2 inside this function right here, because the second parameter right here just has function scope, means it's only visible inside the function. So if we change second and we put ace in there, and just so we can see, compare the two, we can see what string 2 up here still is. Let's go ahead and expand this. We'll put a break right there, and we'll echo, and we'll just echo string 2 equals, and we'll just put string 2 there. Now go back here, and we can see that it changed the ace in here inside our function, but string 2 is still equal to Sorcerer. It hasn't done anything with that. But now if we go in here and put our reference symbol in there, which is just the ampersand in front of the variable, we're no longer going to pass a copy of Cyber Sorcerer in here as a string. What it's going to do is it's going to take the reference that string 2 is pointing to in Cyber Sorcerer, which those of you that are familiar with C and pointers, it's just going to be the memory location where this first S is. Like in C, I can tell you, because a lot of people that are going to be taking these courses are going to be taking C2. These variables here are going to be stored in the data section inside C, and the first memory location is going to be the C in Cyber Sorcerer, and the S or the C in cyber, and the S in sorcerer. Keep getting ahead of myself there. And all we're going to be doing is passing the memory location into here. So now when it changes this, now let's see what happens to sorcerer and string 2 down here. Let's go over here and refresh, and looks like, let's go back. Okay, we can see we have a little star up there, means we didn't save this. Now let's go back over and refresh. Now we can see that it switches to ace. So in our function here, instead of having a variable that's just local here, instead we passed the second variable here, string 2, in by reference, which gave the function ability to actually change this global variable, because the variable is declared outside of the function. So technically the string 2 variable is not visible by anything inside the function here, but we've made it visible by going by reference. Now it's true that, you know, we could have put global in here and listed string 2 as global, or we could have just used the global's parameter there and put string 2 3 and used it that way. But like I said, this here was about references, and that's all we're doing. So anytime you see that a variable is passed to a function by reference, then every reference inside that function that references that variable is actually going to change the global variable that was passed into it. So I can see we're passing in string 2 here, but inside this function, string 2 is actually going to be second, like an alias. So everything that happens to second here is also happening to string 2. They're both the same. What changes in here changes string 2 out here, and this is just a good way for you to see that in action and actually how it works. So we go back here. If we take out this reference, and this time we'll save it, then go back, you can see we're back to having string 2 as a global variable. So I hope this helps you understand, and we'll be getting into references and passing by references and stuff later on when we get more advanced in PHP, and we get into like working with PHP BB and some of the other open source platforms out there, customizing them to our liking. But for now, this should be a quick understanding so you can visually see how that reference operator works. And PHP 5 is actually different, how it uses the reference operator. And even when you use it for a function, like if we're going to do the same thing to the function here like this, and with the references and stuff, because PHP actually transfers by reference instead of value. But like I said, we'll get into that when we get into PHP 5. But I hope you enjoyed it, and keep your messages and comments and stuff coming, and we'll see you next time.